Hello, welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and insights that drive their success. Each episode, we dig into the stories and expertise behind the brands shaping the industry today, offering hopefully some valuable takeaways for anyone looking to elevate their own efforts. So let's get started. Today, I've got Jeremy of Filament. Jeremy, how's it going today?
It's going really well, Shiv. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. And where are you calling in from, by the way, Jeremy?
I am based in Sydney,
Oh, wow. Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. So my accent is from Los Angeles, but I'm based in Sydney.
Wow. Okay. I think you're the furthest guest we've ever had, which is awesome.
I'll take it.
Yeah. On that note, I'd love to dig in a little bit. Yeah, you've got the LA accent, but you're in Sydney. I'd love to dig in a little bit to learn about your background, what brought you to Sydney, and also some history on Filament as a company.
Yeah, sure. How about we kick off with how did I get here?
Yeah.
So as soon as I graduated college, I was traveling as much as possible. And in those travels, I met an Australian girl and I followed her here. And that was 20 years ago. And we stayed. I've been in Australia for quite a while now. Started agency land and agency life about 8 years ago. And we founded Filament about 2 years ago now. Yeah, we're loving life in Sydney.
Awesome. So a little bit of a love story that brought you to
Yeah.
Australia. Is that right?
And not just a little bit. It is the 100% the reason why I'm here. Yeah.
That's awesome. I know that Filament focuses on go-to market strategies and digital marketing for B2B tech companies. So I guess I was curious, what unique challenges do B2B tech brands face in launching products? And how does your agency help navigate these complexities?
Yeah. So complexity is absolutely the right word there. It is so complicated for these businesses to operate. I think what a lot of people outside of the technology industry maybe don't quite understand is how many players are in this space who all work alongside each other or on top of each other or with each other to take products and services to market effectively. The technology stack gets really complicated and the whole ecosystem is vast. And once you start mixing in different types of technologies that all interconnect and work together to deliver services for businesses, it gets hard. And so these business leaders have built phenomenal businesses, but are reinventing the wheel every time they're taking a new product or a new service to market. And so we remove that friction from them and we effectively become their SWAT team to come in and figure out how are we going to meaningfully differentiate you from competitors that might be building the same products on the same kit, and how do we tell a story that means something to specific types of buyers and ICPs, and then how do we reach them and then build a methodology around taking those products and services to market in a way that means something to them, that non-marketing executives can understand and continually invest in as they ramp up and compound their growth over time. It's really exciting space. It's constantly changing. There's constant fluctuations in terms of who the players are in the space. And we just grabbed our surfboards and are riding this wave.
Nice. And you spoke to this a little bit in your answer here, but you mentioned that Filament chose to niche down in B2B to fill a gap in the market. And so what specific needs did you observe that inspired you to focus on this sector? And how has this specialization impacted your approach?
Yeah, and I think really what's in this question is how does an agency differentiate itself? But prior to us specializing and niching down into this, we were working with business leaders in manufacturing and import export and OEMs or original equipment manufacturers. And we're doing great work for a lot of guys. But what we really found is that it was incredibly hard for leaders in the technology space to access people who understood what they were trying to sell, whom they're trying to sell it to, and how hard it is to sell that. We're talking about 12, 18, 24-month sales cycles. These aren't guys that are buying after seeing a web page and clicking purchase now. These are buying committees committing millions of dollars to something over a long period of time. The gap really was that a lot of agencies are really good at specific things. There's really great Facebook advertisers. There's really great branding agencies. There's really great web dev guys. But what we found specifically to the types of tech companies that we're working with is they needed somebody who understood how all of those different components work, but could speak to it in a way that made sense to them in the complexity of the ecosystem that they're working in. And we just jumped. So my personal background was in this space as I started learning and working with tech companies, and my co-founder as well has a long, extensive background in this space as well. So we just took the opportunity to just go all in, specialize in this, and really want to focus on being the go-to for B2B tech companies when they're pursuing a go-to-market, or as they're trying to expand their footprint or enter a new vertical or expand their reach. We just want them to think of Filament when they do.
And you're right. I mean, there's such a challenge in marketing for tech companies. There is a lot going on and things are changing all the time. And we do some marketing for tech companies over here at Orange 142 as well. And while it's a fun challenge, it definitely still is a challenge. And I think to that note, I know that Filament prefers working with clients who value compounding growth over short-term gains. And so I guess I'm curious, how do you set expectations and design campaigns that build sustainable growth for clients in an industry that often expects quick results?
Yeah, especially if they're publicly listed.
Yeah.
They need results now, and they need to be able to report on that at the end of the quarter. A lot of what we do is in partner land, in partnerships, in channel programs where different companies partner with vendors or partner with each other. And at the end of the day, the most successful partnerships are relationship based. And we found that for ourselves as well. Our most successful clients and the best results we've delivered for clients are where we have really deep relationships with them, where there's no difference between them and us. We are them, right? We're wearing their hoodie, essentially.
Right.
We're their guys.
Yeah.
And so we just understand them inside and out so that we can remove the friction of going to market, because we can speak their language, we can be part of the team, and we can also be guys that can push back and really challenge behaviors or challenge norms that have come up through culture where people are accustomed to do certain things. And we can really, pull that apart and try to figure out what's going to be most effective for their budget and challenge the status quo, being a third party. And we found that leaders really value that, and not being surrounded by yes men who are just trying to sell them more ads, more. If only you spent more on Google ads, you'd have this and this thing. But thinking critically about what's gonna deliver the impact. And so I think that's really what's become the value add in having robust discussions. And because we're focused on relationships, and because we don't want to just sell something off the shelf, the ability to then have an open discussion of, if you want quick wins, like if you want wins now, you got to pick up the phone and call everybody. That is literally the only way to get a result today is you got to call everybody. But that has rapid diminishing returns, right? There's no impact beyond that cycle of the call. And you're going to get a very small percentage of people picking up the phone, and you're going to have an even lower percentage of people willing to meet with you. And you're going to have a tiny percentage of people who are willing to buy off the back of that. But that gets you results today.
Yeah.
But if you position it in that way and say, okay, and maybe that's something for you, and we don't do outbound calls. We're happy to refer other agencies in for that. But if you're looking for a medium to long-term sustained growth where it compounds over time and almost creates a flywheel of growth for you, then we need to be realistic about how are you investing today that's going to start slowly building momentum, deliver returns, and then over the medium to long term just grows more and more over time.
Yeah.
But it's hard for them to consider that because their budgets for this quarter And we're talking about results in 3/4 time. And oftentimes it becomes then a longer discussion around how are they going to achieve that? Because it makes sense when you lay it out like that. It makes sense to guys, but they also need results today. And so you need to be empathetic and understanding of it.
And that's a good point. And there's something you said that at the beginning of this that kind of stuck out to me, that you become a part of their company in a way. There's no difference between you and them. So for other agencies that are looking for that sort of relationship with their clients, what sort of advice do you have for them to be able to foster that sort of close relationship?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I would really reflect on figuring out how can you mean more to the business in a meaningful way that can be understood by the leaders on the client side.
Mhm.
And it sounds strange to word it like that, but what is valuable to you as an agency and means a lot may not fully be understood by them it, at a intricate level or in a granular level. And so figuring out how to make an impact that moves the needle for them and positions you closer to the point where you're either enabling some strategic outcome or over time you are contributing to the strategy itself, you're embedding yourself within the organization and it becomes less of a, oh, you're our third party agency and we just tell you what to do and you go do it because you're just thankful to get the work. You become part of the momentum and the motion of the go forward of the business. And I think that's where everybody wants to sit. But it's a really hard transition to make if you're achieving little tactical outcomes. I don't mean to say little. If you're achieving tactical outcomes for them on a campaign by campaign basis. So that's what I would encourage other agency owners to reflect on is in what ways do you level up into strategy with your clients and get paid for it and get paid well for it? But how do you level up in a way that makes sense and can mean something for both sides?
Yeah. And I think these old adages of meet people where they are, meet your clients where they are truer than ever. Under promise and over deliver, those types of things, that the fundamentals of service work, I think those become more true than ever in situations like these. Because if you, like so many agencies, if they just did what they said they were going to do and then fulfilled on that work, like that relationship, I think would become inherent because people want to stay with people when they see marketing as an investment and not a cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And I think there's an extra layer there is it's an investment, not a cost, but how do you become how do you become the agency that doesn't get cut the moment times get
Yeah.
tough somewhere else in the business, right? And marketing's the first thing to get shut off. The moment there's headwinds in any other part of the business, the board or the leadership team immediately looks to marketing to figure out where they can save costs. And so the more you can become part of the fabric of the way the company is expanding, you are protecting your agency and the relationship as well by ensuring continuity when there's headwinds.
Yeah. And that's a great point. Absolutely. You're so right. Marketing is always the first to go. Anytime
Man,
things get tough in the
I
economy,
hate it.
I know. They've always been. And honestly, sometimes you need, and in those spaces, like it's like this expand when others contract situation. In those cases, a lot of times you need marketing more than ever.
And they don't. It takes a special leader with a special type of background and nous to understand times are going tough and we're actually going to double down with our outreach or our brand work or our brand expansion because everybody else is slowing down and there's an ability to land and expand when others aren't. But
Yeah.
that's special.
So, as someone deeply involved in partner marketing, what advice would you give B2B tech leaders on building and nurturing relationships with channel partners to drive consistent growth?
That's an amazing question. I think the where this starts, and this is what I'm particularly and personally passionate about. When you're involved in partner marketing, one of the complexities that is often not addressed is when organizations come together to pursue the same business, the same ICP, the same type of contracts or clients, who owns that? Right? There's multiple businesses and they're structured in a way where they are meant to be working on their own. And there's a big growth spurt happening in partnerships and partner management teams. And there's some debate about whether they're going to increase or flatten in terms of investment into that. But even the partnership managers aren't necessarily owning the totality of both going to market together, right? Like they're still the representative of one side of that partnership and they still need a counterpart. And if they're co-owning that go-to-market together, that gets really hard to achieve. It's really easy for those guys to select a third party like us to come in and almost be like a mediator and a facilitator to say, okay, we've got multiple brand stories and we want to be deeply empathetic and we want to be deeply concerned with how are we driving mutual value for everybody involved and have all the expectations mapped out and on the table for everyone. And then how do we tell that story that is combined in a way that makes sense for your prospects? And it is so hard. And I think that's why I love it so much, because of that challenge of telling the brand story of multiple companies at the same time and then helping them pursue clients together. And helping them tell a story in tech land, the language is often, we're better together. But substantiating that and doing it in a way that makes sense to somebody is so hard. And I love it. It's really fun work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And most people go after a lot of the same kind of industries when they're a marketing agency, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you've chosen this, like you have this passion for helping B2B tech, which is, you don't see a whole bunch of marketing agencies going through that, because you're right, it's hard. And it's hard to convince this B2B company that you have a brand and you have a story, and we just need to be the ones to tell it. Has that been your experience as well? Getting them over the hump to help them understand that they do have a story, it's somewhere in there and you're going to help them get it out?
Yeah. Yes. To address the first part, it's kind of our moat, right? It has taken us so long to get to where we are. And for myself and my co-founder, it's taken our entire careers essentially to get to this point, to be able to deliver this. But as an agency, we think it's our moat because it is so hard. We don't think that our competitors, if we are directly competing with other competitors, with other agencies, that they would have the ability to have as many rungs on the board, as many points as we've scored, as many awards that we've won for this stuff in a way that makes sense to B2B tech leaders. And the industry is so insular. These guys want to work with people who understand them and who understand what they're doing and who can speak their language. What we found early on, and this is what we found even with our recruitment and staffing for the agency and who we put in front of clients, it's fascinating. If you mispronounce a single word to a B2B tech professional, if you mispronounce a basic word, they instantly know you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Instantly, by a single mispronunciation. And so we have to be so abundantly careful in who we bring in and how we train people and what they talk about to ensure that there is that level of trust. Because as an agency, we have that background, but that the people do as well that execute on the campaigns. So that was a strategy for us to build up our agency that has that strategic moat around it by specializing in. And then on to address the question about the challenge of it, I think that's the other part is it is so hard to do. We at this point have done it so much that we have shortened our sales cycle from the point of meeting a complete stranger to starting to work together. That cycle of them building up trust with us happens so much quicker now because we've had some big wins in terms of taking companies to market where they've had a huge liquidity event and sold to a major vendor, or they're going towards a public listing, or we've won awards because we've done go to market for them. So that part is what took time. We just needed a lot of evidence and working with brands that people recognize and instantly know, oh, if you guys worked with those guys, then yeah, get in here. Let's talk serious.
Wow.
So yeah, two parts to that. And it's taken a lot of time to get to this point, but we think we're kind of at a sweet spot now with what we're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I can definitely hear this passion for the specific industries that you serve. This has been great, Jeremy. Where can people find out more about you, and where can people find out more about your agency?
Yeah. So best place is filament.digital online. And I'm Jeremy Balius on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And I'll have everything linked to the show notes below to make it easy for everybody. Jeremy, thank you again for being on. This was one of the more, I think, deeper and more technical talks we've had here, but it's wonderful. I think we dove deep and you really need that. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Shiv. Thank you so much for having me on.